Monday night was night 2 of the WWE Draft. Night 1 saw Seth Rollins move to SmackDown, AJ Styles move to Raw, so basically it was like an even swap between the two of them. Rey Mysterio and Dominic moved to SmackDown, and the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, were moved to Raw. So those were the main moves coming out of Night 1. Night 2 saw another 6 rounds of this draft. In round 1, we had The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, being drafted to Monday Night Raw. No surprise there. That gets him away from Roman Reigns, at least for a while. Retribution, I guess, are no longer the only ones who get to mess around with the lights on Monday nights. They're going to have some competition now at the controls. Bayley and the SmackDown Women's Championship remain on SmackDown. I figured she was going to move to Raw, assuming that she loses to Sasha Banks at Hell in a Cell, but they end up staying on the same brand. Randy Orton stays with Monday Night Raw. The Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, head to SmackDown, which you had to see coming. After the New Day took the SmackDown belts to Raw, Bianca Belair had moved to SmackDown, so you just had to see that one coming. And Charlotte Flair, drafted to stay with Monday Night Raw. So that was round number 1. Round number 2, we had Braun Strowman moving to Raw. So he ends up back on the same brand as The Fiend. Daniel Bryan, who returned to TV on Friday night, he stays on SmackDown. Matt Riddle moves to Monday Night Raw. So Seth Rollins got his wish. Seth Rollins said, I could care less, I hope he goes to Raw, and that's exactly what happened. Kevin Owens moves to SmackDown, which was the move that Owens was hoping for. Trying to get something going again, and he's hoping that SmackDown will be a fresh new start for him. And Jeff Hardy moves to Monday Night Raw. Round number 3 saw Retribution drafted to Monday Night Raw. Raw drafts the same group that has been terrorizing everybody on the show now for months. First, the company gives them contracts, which they never explained, by the way. They had the announcers acknowledge when they broke the news on TV that they've been given contracts. They had the announcers, at least so they don't look totally dumb, acknowledge, like, why would they be given contracts? That doesn't make any sense. I guess they figure by acknowledging that it doesn't make any sense, they therefore are excused from having to actually explain it. So first they get contracts, and then they double down and they have Raw draft them. So that's Mustafa Ali, Teabag, Slapdick, Mace, and Reckoning, Mia Yim. No Mercedes Martinez in the graphics. That would seem to confirm that she is being sent back to NXT. By the way, after teasing for days before the show last Monday that Ali would be on Raw to explain his actions and explain why he joined Retribution, is leading Retribution, and his actions from the week before, Ali and the members of Retribution nowhere to be found on Monday night. No Mustafa Ali promo on the show. He tried to play it off on Twitter like it was intentional. How does it feel to be promised something and have it taken away from you? Which I guess is a clever way of turning it back around on people. But I don't buy that for a second. They had a draft show to write, and they couldn't come up with 10 minutes to give the man on a 3-hour show, and so he got bumped. WWE has been false advertising stuff on shows for decades. So why stop now? WWE false advertising. Then, now, and forever. Lars Sullivan, drafted to SmackDown. Keith Lee, drafted to Raw. King Corbin to SmackDown. And Alexa Bliss to Monday Night Raw. I said last week, where the Fiend goes, so goes Alexa Bliss. So she is, you can't split them up now. They're in the middle of the story, you're going to split them up. You can't split them up. Of course she was going to Raw. Round number 4. Elias. Elias goes to Monday Night Raw. Elias returned on Monday night. He smashed a guitar across Jeff Hardy's back. He cost Jeff Hardy a triple threat match that he was in with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. So Elias is a heel again. Last time we saw him, Jeff Hardy was being framed by someone we assume was Sheamus for the drunk driving incident that they used as a way to explain Elias's pec injury. He had a pec tear. That's why he's been gone. Later on, he told Charlie Caruso that he will not forgive Jeff for hitting him with the car, which I guess that's a good reason to be upset with somebody. The good news is that Sheamus is also on Raw now, so he can go after the real driver. Sami Zayn drafted by SmackDown. It took until the 4th round of this draft for the Intercontinental Champion to be drafted. That is pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. What is supposed to be the second most prestigious title on your show, you just headlined an episode of SmackDown just a few weeks ago with an Intercontinental Championship match. 4th round, they finally remembered that Sami Zayn was there. It's not even like Sami was on the show Friday night. It was part of an angle where he was like complaining and protesting, you know, this is what I'm talking about, the disrespect. I mean, maybe he did and I missed it. I don't remember that happening. It's ridiculous. Lacey Evans moves to Raw. Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura stay on SmackDown. And Sheamus moves to Monday Night Raw. Mark my words, I mean, he'll be challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE title in a few months. I wouldn't do it at WrestleMania. I would do it before then. But I'm sure they would love to face each other. They're like, you know, best friends. So it's only a matter of time. Round number 5. Nikki Cross moves to Raw. So she follows Alexa. That should be a match soon. Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode go to SmackDown. R-Truth on Monday Night Raw. Apollo Crews moves to SmackDown. The Apollo 16 launch has been canceled. Hallelujah. Apollo Crews has moved away from the Hurt Business. And Daba Kato to Monday Night Raw. Round 6 saw Titus O'Neil drafted by Monday Night Raw. Carmella to SmackDown. Peyton Royce to Monday Night Raw. And Aleister Black to SmackDown. Titus O'Neil was drafted before Aleister Black. When was the last time we even saw Titus O'Neil on TV? Wasn't it like a Raw Underground segment a few weeks ago? But before that, when's the last time we saw Titus O'Neil on television? I mean, he's a great ambassador for the company. Not for Monday Night Raw, for the whole company. He's a great ambassador. He's a great spokesperson. So please explain to me, Titus O'Neil being drafted before Aleister Black. Titus O'Neil, Lacey Evans, Yabba Dabba Doo Guy, all got drafted before Aleister did. And I really do wonder what Triple H must think when he sees stuff like this. And Akira Tozawa. I think they called him the Ninja Man. Stephanie called him the Ninja Man or something. Oh yeah, that's great. He moves to Monday Night Raw. So they did round 7 on Raw Talk after the show was over. Lana drafted by Monday Night Raw, which is good because she won the dual-branded Battle Royal. They had a dual-branded Women's Battle Royal on TV Monday night. She won. She won the Battle Royal to earn a shot at the Raw Women's Championship on TV this week against Asuka. Good grief. Asuka, I mean, we know Asuka is great, but, I mean, she's no miracle worker. We're going to find out how great Asuka really is tomorrow night. But that was your main event on Raw. They ended the show with Lana winning a Women's Battle Royal. Actually, they ended with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre fighting their way back out into the arena. They were fighting all night. They were fighting at the beginning of the show. They came back out. They were fighting at the end of the show. They had to be separated by officials. But the main event of Monday Night Raw was Lana winning a Battle Royal. Wow. Natalya goes to SmackDown. So there it is. Yet another tag team broken up. I know they weren't together for very long, but my God. You talk about fitting a narrative. There's another tag team broken up. Riddick Moss to Monday Night Raw. Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott to SmackDown. Arturo Huas to Monday Night Raw. And then there were some additional picks after the draft was already over. Chad Gable. So much for going to NXT. Chad Gable was drafted to SmackDown. This was done off the air with about as much enthusiasm as you would expect. Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik of the Lucha House Party go to Raw, so the Lucha House Party goes from 3 to 2. I guess we never even got a match between Kalisto and Metalik, or actually the match would have been Kalisto and Dorado, because those are the two that have really been having issues now. And they never even did a match. They just broke them up. So then there were some free agent signings, the people who were not picked, but who have since, I guess, signed. Eric of the Viking Raiders to Raw, Tamina to SmackDown, Billie Kay to SmackDown, so her and Peyton end up on separate brands, and Zelina Vega to SmackDown, which I guess is not surprising given that that's where Aleister Black went. Now, there were a couple of people who went undrafted. These are the free agents. Mickie James, who had just competed on Raw, was it a month ago maybe, for the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka. Mickie James went undrafted. She is currently out recovering from a broken nose. I can't imagine she's going to be gone very long for a broken nose, so it's not like she's laid up with some kind of long-term injury. But she went undrafted. And Andrade, the former NXT champion Andrade. And by the way, both of them, supposedly, both of them are expected to end up on Monday Night Raw when all is said and done. That is the belief. Even though Andrade was tweeting an old photo teasing a possible return to NXT. Chad Gable was doing something similar. He had posted his Twitter banner or something, was like an NXT image. But he ended up not going. Andrade lost to Angel Garza in about 2 minutes on Monday night. Garza is back from his partial quad tear. He had his thigh all wrapped up. After the match, Zelina Vega, who was on commentary, and remember, Zelina wanted nothing to do with either of these men anymore, right? She left them in the past. All of a sudden, she went into the ring. She was concerned. And when Andrade lost, she went into the ring to go check on him. And this was to set up the angle where the lights went out. When they came back on, Alexa Bliss was in the corner doing that Fiend pose, looking upside down. And it was the Fiend and Alexa Bliss in the ring, and they laid out Andrade and Zelina with stereo sister Abigail's. It felt like a write-off for Andrade on the Raw brand, but per Wrestling Inc., the reason Andrade was not drafted is because he is undergoing a minor elective procedure soon. It's expected to keep him out of the ring for about a month. And he is supposedly due for a push when he gets back. And you know what? If they keep Andrade on Raw, and we know that Charlotte Flair is staying on Monday Night Raw, their relationship is no secret. They're all over social media. They're all over Twitter and Instagram. They're constantly posting photos with one another. All lovey-dovey. It's all very nice. So it's not as if that their relationship is some kind of big secret. Maybe Charlotte and her Latin lover on TV together could be the best thing for Andrade's career. Right? It links him to somebody who you know is going to be pushed on TV. So for him, it's a win-win situation. But I think it would be something different for Charlotte too. She's never had a love interest on TV. I'm not saying that she has to be a manager. She could come out with him for his matches. He could come out with her for her matches. But we all know that she's going to be the queen bee in that women's division no matter what, once she comes back to TV. But I think coupling the two of them up, it would be a different role for her, and she's a bigger star than he is, so he could only benefit from it. And that statement is going to upset some people, me saying that. But yes, it is not even close. I don't care what he did outside of WWE La Sombra and all the success that he had in wrestling. That's great for the diehard hardcore wrestling fans who remember Andrade even before he came to WWE and how great he was at a time when Charlotte Flair wasn't even as big as she is now. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. But Charlotte Flair, it's not even close, is a far bigger star, far bigger name than Andrade is. You don't have to like it, but that's a fact. So it can only help him if he was to be associated with her in some way on TV. Now, looking at each roster on paper, as things currently stand, I think SmackDown came out of it a little bit stronger than Raw did. Not by much, but I do think SmackDown, to me, I look and it's the more appealing of the two brands. I think their roster up top, anyway, is more interesting. As always, the key is in the follow-up and how they're going to utilize those rosters. Jeff Hardy may be gone from SmackDown. I'm surprised well, I mean, he is gone from SmackDown, but I'm surprised that they didn't keep him around long enough to kind of feed him to Roman Reigns, because Jeff would have been a great babyface to put in there with Roman and have Roman beat him, because Roman needs some people to beat. He's not dropping that belt before WrestleMania. He might even hold it on beyond WrestleMania, but I don't see him losing it before WrestleMania. He needs babyfaces. He needs people that people like and care about. He needs people like that to beat. And I thought Jeff would be one of them, so that was kind of surprising to me. But after the whole Jey Uso story wraps up, I assume, at Hell in a Cell, Roman's got matches lined up now. You look at the people on that roster. He's got matches lined up, I think, with Rey Mysterio, with Kevin Owens, with Daniel Bryan, and with Big E. And in their back pocket, down the line, they have the option of turning Seth Rollins babyface to feud with the Tribal Chief. And of course, they can call back to their history together from their Shield days. But that's down the line. I mean, I would keep Rollins and Reigns apart. Rollins and Reigns is still, it's not fresh. I don't want to see that yet. A year from now, a year and a half from now, maybe. That's why I say they have that in their back pocket, because now they're back on the same roster together. So you could always come back to that. And, you know, if push comes to shove, Daniel Bryan already put over one New Day member last year. When it comes time to decide who gets the shot at WrestleMania, if Big E does not win the Royal Rumble, which I think he will, but if Big E does not win the Royal Rumble, it could be Daniel Bryan doing the honors for, you know, Big E to put him over before WrestleMania in advance of Big E maybe getting the shot against Roman at Mania. Brock Lesnar is kind of a wild card here. He's not under contract right now. Paul Heyman confirmed that again this week. Even though he's still listed on the WWE roster page, Brock Lesnar is in fact not under contract to WWE. But Brock Lesnar has not missed a WrestleMania since 2013. I guess, well, 2012 was the last Mania that he was not a part of. 2013 was his first one back. And ever since then, he's been part of every WrestleMania card. So there's always the chance that he re-signs in time for next year's WrestleMania show. I mean, it would be surprising to me for him not to be there. And maybe we get the Paul Heyman guy drama. Whose side is he on? And they could do Lesnar and Reigns. I mean, it feels like a natural match to me just because of the Heyman connection. But my God, I mean, we've seen Reigns and Lesnar so many times. Yes, this would be a little bit different with Roman being, you know, call him a heel or whatever you want to call him. This is a different version of Roman Reigns. So it would be a little bit different. But I would much rather see someone fresh in that spot. That brings up The Rock. I don't know if you would consider The Rock to be fresh. I mean, it would be in terms of an opponent for Roman Reigns. I still don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen, even if Rock wants to do it. I just think that life, work, movies, something's going to get in the way, and it's not going to happen. But they're going to have a few options for Roman Reigns come WrestleMania next year. Both brands have the same problem with tag teams, that is, they have none. Yes, I am exaggerating, they have a few, but they don't have very many tag teams. And this draft did not change a damn thing. If anything, the draft made it worse, because they broke up a few teams for no reason at all. Look at Heavy Machinery, there was no reason to do that. And they may yet be reunited. I hope they are, because there was no reason to break them up. So they just break teams up. I mean, it's like, as soon as you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth and you have breakfast, it's like a reflex action. Let's just break up another tag team. On Raw, the key ladies in the women's division are Asuka, Charlotte, I guess Alexa, you could say. Shayna Baszler is still there. They could always push her as a single again once the tag team thing with Nia runs its course. We'll see what they do with Mia Yim. That remains to be seen. MVP was teasing a possible interest on Twitter in bringing Naomi into the Hurt Business. That could be interesting. Over on the SmackDown side, we now have Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair on the same brand, in the same division. Bayley is still there, but then after that, it doesn't look all that great. It doesn't look all that great. So I got to give Monday Night Raw the edge with the women. And guess who may be on her way back? all red everything is coming back. Eva Marie is supposedly coming back to WWE. And if she comes back, it's got to be on Raw, because you can't be all red everything and be on the blue brand, right? Does she even have red hair anymore? I have not seen a picture of what Eva Marie looks like. It's been 3 years she's been gone. I don't know if she looks radically different or not. I don't follow her. I don't know what she's doing. I guess she's done a couple of movies or whatever. But maybe she's not a redhead anymore. Maybe she went back to her natural color. Maybe she's some other wild neon color. Who knows? But if she's got the red hair, if her whole gimmick is all red everything, you can't put her on SmackDown. I mean, I guess she was on SmackDown before, but what sense would that make? You got to put her on the red brand. You got to put her on Monday Night Raw. But PW Insider said that she came to terms with WWE about a month ago. She was not on TV this week, but PW Insider is also the site. You know, Mike Johnson is also the one who previously reported that Melina had re-signed with WWE, and we have yet to see her on TV either, so we're going to have to wait and see. But they're not the only one. PW Insider is not the only ones reporting about the Eva Marie news, so that seems to look like a done deal. It's just a matter of when. When are we going to see her back on TV? I am not aware of her wrestling anywhere since she left WWE a few years ago. I know that she has been doing other things, and in TV and stuff, but no wrestling. Eva Marie is not what I had in mind when I talked about adding new faces and needing new faces to be added to the women's division. That is not what I had in mind. Then we get to the tag team titles. The great solution that WWE came up with for having the SmackDown Tag Team Champions on Raw and the Raw Tag Team Champions on SmackDown was to have Commissioner Adam Pearce. He may as well be the commissioner at this point, because just give him an official title. He's on TV every week. He now is the de facto authority figure. He told both teams in the back, he said, I have the solution. Swap belts. And that's what they did. Like Starburst candies. They swapped belts. And just like that, I guess the New Day are now 10-time tag team champions. They have tied the record set by the Dudley Boys, although on SmackDown, when Big E did their big intro for their final match, he called them the 9-time champs. So I don't know what's going on now with this title history. Everything is all just screwed up now. Wikipedia and everybody on social media is calling them 10-time champions. Maybe WWE has something else in mind. They called the Street Profits on TV, they called them Triple Crown winners for winning the NXT Tag Team titles, the Raw Tag Team titles, and now they're the SmackDown Tag Team champions. Except they did not win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Their belts went from red to blue. And before I get the inevitable question, what would you have done, Solomonster? You know what I would have done? I'll tell you what I would not have done. I would not have swapped my tag team champions. I got an even better answer for you. I would have merged the titles. One set of tag team champions. The tag team divisions on these shows are pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. You do not need 2 sets of champions. So instead, they have these guys, all 4 of these guys are trading the belts back and forth like they're baseball cards. And according to this week's Observer, it looks like Raw Underground is no more. Now, it's been missing the past few weeks ever since that last COVID outbreak, where they were worried that some of the NXT trainees may have, that were in the audience may have potentially been mingling with stars from the main roster. They were worried about Raw Underground turning into a super spreader event. So they kind of iced it for a few weeks. And now it looks like it may be iced permanently. Well, I got news for you. Raw Underground was done the minute that Braun Strowman knocked out Yabba Dabba Doo Guy. I don't know how good of a wrestler he is, but, he's a big dude, right? Babatunde, he's a big dude. He's gigantic. But it looked like maybe they were going to use Raw Underground as a vehicle to get him over as the next monster. And it's like, all right, well, if this is their way of trying to get a new guy over, okay, fine. But then they knocked him out. They knocked him out, and that was the end. That was the end of Raw Underground. That was the beginning of the end of Raw Underground. I don't know about you. I gotta tell you, when I heard the news a few days ago, my heart shattered. I have just been in this funk. I have not been able to get out of this funk now for just a number of days. I have been absolutely devastated by this news. I mean, what will Riddick Moss do now? What will Eric of the Viking Raiders do? They're both out with injuries now anyway. That might be the real reason that Raw Underground died. They lost Riddick Moss and Eric, and they didn't have anybody else. But, I mean, what will I watch now? I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. What will I watch now to make myself nauseous from all the shaky cam and all the camera cuts? I shall headbang until I vomit, in tribute to the memory of Raw Underground. But only after 10 p.m.